Hey everyone, it's my first back. I've been gone a few years, I know. And the reason why I'm not on camera is because I look like death and I would rather face a street or a store or a wall with my camera rather than put it on me because there's looking like death and then there's, oh, come on, why'd you go out in public? And I'm kind of on the why'd you go out in public part. So I'm sitting at Walmart and to the store to get a couple things. So I'm sitting in the car and we just left the doctor's office. I had went um, to my OBGYN and she was, I had some decisions to make and do some thinking before I went in to see her for an appointment. So this is where kind of things are as I understand what's going on. And before I start into that, ladies, get your health checked out. It's not worth it to kind of be where I'm, be what I've been through. Okay, so this is what happened. I have um, I have multiple fibroids on my uterus, and or in my uterus, whichever they're on top or they're inside. I don't know where the hell they are. Just know that several. So this started in March of '98. That's when I gave birth to my son. That's the last child I had. While I was pregnant, they found a small fibroid. And I was like, okay, they told me, oh, don't worry about it. It'll probably shrink down after you have the baby. And I was like, okay, didn't think anything of it. Years went on. I think it increased in growth just a little bit, but told me still nothing to worry about. And you sit over here and you trust your doctors and you listen to them thinking they know what they're talking about, but get other opinions. Trust me, especially if the doctor says something that just doesn't feel right to you or sounds suspicious. So, um, years have passed and I wasn't thinking that I thought it wasn't growing, even though my periods every single month, I was having heavy bleeding. And it got to the point where, every time I came on my cycle, I would grow extremely weak. And I was at one point in time, I did not have, I wasn't on any type of iron pills. And I got like sick enough where I ended up in the hospital where they told me that my iron was running pretty low. And so, I was like, I went back on iron pills thinking everything would be okay. And that's still not enough. So, which leads me to fast forward to earlier this year. Probably this is back in like, not early, but maybe like June, July of this year. I started seeing a new OBGYN. It's a lady, and she's awesome. Like, she's probably one of the best OBGYNs I've seen ever in my life. And I've had about four or five total. And so they have her offices are set up pretty cool, and she has like four or five offices. They have it where you can get an ultrasound done, the pelvic exam, the whole transvaginal probe thing that goes up in there and takes pictures inside, as well as the ultrasound on top of your stomach. So they go in there, and when I first had my appointment, I had them back to back where they did that, and then they went in and saw me right after, and they saw so many fibroids. She said they stopped counting at seven. So I don't even know how many the actual number count is, but it was pretty up there. So I was like, okay, this is really bad. So that could be why my bleeding felt like it was just getting worse. I would lay on the couch when I was bleeding or in bed and feel like I could barely move and feel so weak. I started getting scared to death. Like, is something happening to me? Am I dying? Like, what in the heck is going on? So she told me that's probably why I was feeling that way. And then she started giving me options of, what I could do. They started mentioning the hysterectomy, but she basically told me if I got the hysterectomy that I might not make it afterwards. Like, I might not heal well at all, or heal, or, I could have some serious complications. So that kind of scared the crap out of me. So I started thinking of alternatives, and we started talking about different things that were possibilities, and she told me about, a birth control shot and blah, blah, blah. So we got to talking about that over a few appointments, and it was mentioned about the fibroid procedure, which, when I went to the consultation, they were telling me, of course, there are certain things they have to do to make sure you qualify for the procedure. They have to make sure, I believe, the fibroids are on the outside of the uterus and not the inside, because if they are, it makes you ineligible. And then they have to um, get the biopsy of the lining of the cervix or uterus or whatever, to make sure that's cancer free. That's another part that is to find out if you're eligible. And then you have to get an MRI done, of course, with the contrast to see where they are and all that stuff. So, and the blood work and all that crap. And so I started thinking about all that, and I was like, okay, and then they told me how they do the procedure when I went in for the consultation, and they do it like, I guess they lay on a table. I can't remember what she said at the very beginning of what they do. If they give you something beforehand, but they feed this like little needle and or a catheter. I don't know if it's got a camera on it. I don't know. I can't remember what all she said about that part, but they feed it through, and they're feeding these little beads in, and because they I guess they feed the dye through to see exactly where the main what you call it that's feeding all the fibroids. And then when they find that jackpot spot, they start feeding these little beads through, I think so many at a time, and it blocks off your the blood flow to the fibroids. And like, it's basically beyond that, these fibroids are in there dying, so you're going to be in a lot of pain from my understanding after that for a few days. And I was like, okay. I don't, you start thinking about the pain, like I've already been in pain, but do I want to go through that kind of pain? Because these fibroids are actually dying, and it depends on how many are in there. You got to wait for all these to die, and yeah. But you do what you got to do when you have to. So I started thinking about that when they told me how that goes and what the complications could be and all that stuff. And she mentioned this shot. That at the appointment I went to today, she mentioned a shot, and it's called. Oh God, I forgot what that shot's called. Um, it begins with an L. I'm trying to dig for it now. Oh, sorry about that. But it's called Lupron is the shot. So they are going to order that, and they'll be calling me here in a week when they get it in, so that I can start taking Lupron. So it'll be a once a month shot. It'll throw me into menopause, and once it does that, I'll be going through all the menopause symptoms like the night sweats and everything else. I'm already going through perimenopause as it is, so it probably won't be much of a change from what I'm going through now. So I'm praying. She said this will stop the bleeding. My connection keeps interrupting. I see I'm gonna have to probably do some editing to this video. I hope it lets me edit, because that sucks. But um, basically, the shot I'll be going on once a month. It'll send me into menopause. I'm already going through perimenopause as it is right now, so probably won't be much of a far cry from what I'm already going through. So the reason why I discuss these things and tell these things, because I hope it triggers some women to get themselves checked out. I know plenty of us that will just ignore some of the symptoms we're having. We'll go, oh, I'll get to it later. I'll check on it later. And I'm definitely one of those people where I go, oh, I'll be fine. I'm just feeling a little bit of this. Next thing you know, it goes from a little bit of something. So those are the kind of things that to watch out for, because it can change on you in the blink of an eye. Because like I said, I only thought I had one fibroid, and like I said, they stopped counting after 7. And that's scary that there's that many of them in there that are like little blood suckers and they're feeding off my blood supply, which explains why I've been feeling like total crap whenever I come on my cycle. And so, like I said, I'm trying to do things now where things have gotten so complicated that I have to choose which way I go perfectly almost, because I could make something that's a bad choice that could affect my health in a really bad way. So, and I try to avoid surgeries at all costs and try to avoid doing certain things. And of course, with a hysterectomy, you'll be down for a while. And, the other procedure, but it will be down, you'll be down at least a few weeks. So that's why I went, with the route of the shot instead. So, with that being said, ladies, get yourself checked out. Husbands that are watching, get your wife checked out and make sure that she does what she needs to do, because if you see something that's not right, there could be some, health that needs to be taken care of by her OBGYN. So I will talk to you guys all later. I may try to record this whole thing over again, depends on how crappy the video looks, because I recorded before. I thought I hit something to record before I did this, and I found out the hard way that it wasn't recording, and I was like, I just did all that for nothing, and I was still sitting at the doctor's office at the time. So get yourself checked out, ladies, and fill up your tatas. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and make sure you get your vaginal health taken care of, because you don't want something to creep up on you like it did me. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.